Hello, and welcome to Expert to Classroom, Applying Universal Design for Learning Principles. Today, we're going to start with the brief presentation, then pause for a check-in, and then continue with the presentation a little bit more before wrapping up with an activity, the academic calendar, and your teaching challenge and exit ticket. So to get us started, there are some links associated with this presentation. So there are some slides that I'm going to talk through with you. There is a link to a TED Talk that really explains why UDL applies to all of us, and a link to the UDL guidelines from CAS that we're going to discuss a little bit further. So first, to get us started, let's talk about where universal design first came from. Universal design comes from architecture. So if we think about a curb cut was initially developed to allow wheelchair users to safely roll on and off a curb to get onto the road, cross the road, and then get back up onto the sidewalk. But we have all used curb cuts, whether rolling a suitcase, a delivery cart, a child with a stroller, a bicycle, we all use curb cuts. So something that was initially developed for a small population is really much more broadly applicable. And the same thing is true in education. So when we think about closed captioning in education, closed captioning was initially developed for a small population of hearing impaired users. But closed captioning is also used by students who are studying in a quiet library and forgot their headphones, or a student who's studying next to a family member who wants to read or rest. And closed captioning are also really important for English language learners, where reading the text can be a helpful way for them to interact with the content as well as hearing the audio. Ally in Blackboard, again, was developed for students with disabilities, but is much more broadly applicable with the alternative formats that it provides, with audio that can be put on a mobile device to listen to while commuting, or for language translation. So with Universal Design for Learning, we're trying to preclude the need for accommodations and modifications. So what does that mean? So with accessibility, a student would approach disability services first, and then disability services would let the faculty member know that the student needed an accommodation. The accommodation would be implemented in the course, and then the student would have access to content in the format that they needed. With universal design, we're looking to have those accommodations already in place. So if a student needs closed captions, those closed captions are already added to the course before the student even enrolls in the course, before the student needs to self-identify, which helps to eliminate or minimize the stigma associated with disability and self-identifying for disability. And of course, by implementing universal design for learning, we're helping learners with different learning preferences as well as learners with specific documented needs. So now let's think about how has universal design helped us individually. So can you think of an instance where you have made use of universal design? Myself, I had children that were very closely spaced in age, and I had a large stroller that I would go everywhere with. And having places that had ramps and elevators and wide doors and wide aisles allowed for me to access shops and kids' activities. So in the Google form, go ahead and enter some ideas of when you have made use of universal design. And then think about your profession. Where can you think of applications of universal design in your profession, either in the equipment that you interact with or the way that you interact with other individuals in your profession? We're going to pause here and then continue with part 2 of this presentation.